Hey guys, welcome back to the CCC. I'm feeling a bit yellow today.
You're looking yellow.
As I'm putting together this drink, I'm realizing how yellow we're looking today.
It's going to look pretty yellow. And the other really interesting thing that everybody probably noticed immediately is you have champagne flutes out. How interesting, because that usually means you're celebrating something. And right now there is absolutely not one little tiny thing to celebrate.
I beg to differ. I'm going to find little small kernels to celebrate. And at the time of this taping, my Astros are looking pretty good right now in the playoffs. So again, not like breaking news, but I've got to find something to get excited about. That's it.
Still, not champagne flute worthy.
Oh, no. Maybe two more rounds of the playoffs, then I'll whip out the champagne flutes. Actually, this champagne flute is 24 years old. Do you know how I know that?
Because it's Ralph, and you got it when you were working at Ralph.
Warm, but no, it is Ralph. But I registered for it. We registered for it for our wedding.
You know what's funny? You know where I got this champagne flute?
I'm going to guess when you worked at Ralph.
We registered for it for our wedding.
I think champagne flutes, that's sort of what they are. It's like fine china crystal that never sees the light of day. But
I don't have a full set of them. I never bothered to complete the set of them. I never got new flutes because I don't freaking use flutes ever.
Okay, but where do champagne flutes fall in hierarchy for you compared to a martini glass? If you have to...
Oh, well, that's easy. The physics about, behind drinking out of this thing are super simple. It just, you feel so refined. You just can sip on it, but your nose doesn't even go in there, right? So like, I'm not going to spill it like I would a martini glass. It's much easier to drink out of, and it's easy to drink out of slowly. So maybe that's why we use it for our brunchy drinks, because you're going to drink, more slowly out of this. You're not going to be able to, put it down like you would something with a wider mouth.
If there were a murder mystery and the question was, who killed the champagne flute? I know who did it.
We should do a murder mystery, but instead of with what weapon, it's like with what glass, with what base spirit, in what room, the pool, the lounge.
I mean, you're taking a little further than I was taking it, but to me, there's an easy answer of why I don't use champagne flutes.
Okay, go ahead.
In terms of alternative glassware, because I think it still works for champagne. If you're just literally just drinking champagne by itself, it works for 375s, and that would be a coupe. Right. As craft cocktails have become much more popular, and half the cocktails served in bars these days are served in a coupe glass, in bars, not restaurants. I feel like the champagne flute sort of worked its way out.
Well, let's think about this. Actually, people were serving champagne in coupes long ago, too. That's not actually a new thing. But no. My actual question is, why would you choose to drink champagne? Because champagne's got the bubbly, right? If you're doing it like this, aren't you like bubbly like in your nose and feels all wonky? Right. Like we did not intend this deep dive on the champagne flute.
We did not. Champagne flutes, champagne glasses were coupes basically back in the day, but it seems like they kind of went away. And for many, many years, you'd think champagne or bubbly, you'd think this.
Right.
Because they were once served in coupes, and now many new cocktails that are served up are served in coupes. I feel like this guy's sort of like unnecessary.
But I think it's similar to the martini glass in that it's such an iconic shape.
Yeah.
That that got affiliated with celebrations. So like the martini glass, picture the martini glass and like a neon sign, in the 80s, and like this means something. This means we're celebrating. So
sure. Yeah, it screams New Year's.
Yeah. So it does not scream Mezcal Galliano cocktail.
It does not.
So this begs the question, why the fuck are we using it?
It's a fair point. The recipe, and this is one of those small recipes that's not a classic by any means, called for it. I think probably because it goes, well, even a Harvey Wallbanger is served in a highball, I believe, isn't it? So it does beg the question, why? You know what? Because I guess we're just followers. We just trust these bartenders up in New York, and
we're just going along with this cocktail that we found online and we were interested in, although we're not sure why.
So you know what? I'm going to call an audible here. I'm going to take my old champagne flute, pour it into a new coupe glass, and let that chill.
Well, I'm glad you're switching over to the coupe. I am going to go ahead and continue to use my Waterford Crystal champagne flute that I have used a total of 4 times since I got married, because why the hell not?
We actually have not discussed the drink name. So it's sort of it's a kind of a wink, wink nod to the Harvey Wallbanger, which if you saw our was it the Laura cocktail? We did? The Laura cocktail a few weeks ago, which had Galliano in it. Galliano, most people think of Galliano, they think of Harvey Wallbanger, sort of a 70s, sort of kitschy, basically an orange, it's really a screwdriver plus Galliano, which is what the Harvey Wallbanger was. It was actually a little brief nerdy research. It actually goes back to the 50s, but for whatever reason, it was not popular until the 70s. And then it sort of like died, became sort of like just a 70s kitsch item. But Galliano, I think, you're starting to see, we've seen it recently in some various recipes. It's trying to make a little comeback, kind of like Midori's made a comeback in some areas.
Midori, I think, changed their formula. Galliano hasn't changed their formula.
Not true.
Oh, have they?
They have.
Ah, okay.
They have.
A version of it that's got a little coffee in it that I keep reading about, but that's not this version.
I've not seen that. I've seen the red one, which I'm not sure what that profile. Have you seen the red one? But yes, Galliano did actually, it went back to the original recipe. I don't know when this happened. It was an article I read. It did allude to Galliano going back to its original formula.
Interesting. Okay.
For what it's worth.
I probably went a little bit sweet for a while.
Well, 70s.
Right. And now it's coming back. Yeah, I mean, Galliano is another one of those herby kind of liqueurs that has a very recognizable shaped bottle.
Yes. I think this drink has promise if you're going to make a version of this cocktail.
The other thing that I'm excited about is this cocktail uses spiced honey syrup, which while sounds weird, I made it the other day for a totally different cocktail. I don't know what other cocktail I made it for, but since I have it made, it's pretty awesome that I have spiced honey syrup sitting around my house.
What kind of spices did you use?
Yes.
I believe the spice there, this one, the main primary spice in this one is supposed to be clove.
That makes sense with honey, right? To be like cinnamon, cloves, allspice.
Yeah.
Feels very fall-y.
You beat me to the punch. I was going to say it's certainly a recognizable fall theme.
So if our leaves aren't going to turn yellow, at least our drinks will.
Yes. Well said. Shall we? Yeah.
Other cool thing about this cocktail is it's really easy.
Yeah, this one could fit nicely into our Shake, Rattle, Roll, or whatever our favorite book is. What's it called?
The Equal Parts Faucet. It's called Shake, Stir, Sip.
Whatever, close enough. Equal parts.
It's not in this, but it should be.
So, equal parts. Really can't mess this one up. We're using citrus, so shaker.
1 ounce of mezcal. Oddly, it actually specifically called for this illegal mezcal. 1 ounce of Galliano. How do you say this one? L'Autentico? The yellow one.
What she said.
1 ounce of the spiced honey syrup, which is really just honey with a bunch of fall spices thrown in there. Jason, do you have spiced honey syrup or are you using cinnamon?
I don't know. Do I? I may or may not be using my cinnamon simple syrup, which was closer than my regular. So
I was gonna say, don't run out and make a spiced honey for this. I think it's probably fine. 1 ounce of lemon, and then we will get ice and shake.
All right, fine string.
Well, what I will say about this flute is it's exactly the right size.
And I think it must be the difference in color. I think your honey simple syrup is a lot darker than mine. Because look, yours is more of an amber. Mine's more like yellow. Mine's like Galliano yellow.
Right.
By the way, guys, if you're making a honey simple syrup, depending on how thick and how sweet you want it, you can obviously add more or less water. But a typical ratio is 3-to-1. Which you don't even have to do it like you would a simple syrup because, well, you can certainly boil it like we would a classic simple. You can also just take some warm water just to sort of thin out the honey.
You guys, Jason is like the syrup master. So if he says it, it is so.
She says as she does her fancy garnish. What are you going to do?
Did not say you were a garnish master.
Which I'm not.
It said lemon twist, so.
Yeah, nice.
Lemon twist is what you get.
Very pretty.
There you go. You know what? It's a little unique.
It is unique, and I can tell you without even tasting it, it already sounds better than a traditional Harvey Wallbanger, without any doubt. It's a twist on a once kitschy cocktail that hopefully maybe can have some new life.
If you think about it, it's also not all that far off from like a mezcal margarita. It's like a fall, lighter ABV.
Well, the other reality is if you happen to own a bottle of Galliano like we both do, anytime you can find something to do with it, you're happy.
True that.
All right, guys. Have a good week. Go Astros.
Fine. Celebrate the little things. Do it in your flutes.
Cheers, Rice.
Cheers, Jason.